if I had started out with BrandFace, I might have been in a whole different realm at this point, 25 years later. So don't wait. I mean, do it as soon as you can. The only way it's expensive is if you don't use it.
Welcome to Be Bold Branding, where we discuss the power of differentiating yourself through your own unique story and standout personal brand. Have you been considering a different direction with your brand but didn't know where to begin? Today's guest had exactly that challenge. Shannon Winter lives in Evergreen, Colorado, and she was established as a discount real estate broker in her region, but she wanted to shift that perception to a lifestyle-driven local brand, focusing more on luxury mountain properties. Big shift, right? All right, let's chat with Shannon today and talk about how we positioned her to accomplish that goal and more.
Hey, Shannon. Welcome to Be Bold Branding.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
We're so happy to have you on, happy to have you in the BrandFace family. Why don't you tell the listeners just a little bit of your background? Tell us maybe even why you got into real estate, and then why did you want to make the brand shift?
Well, I got into real estate because my husband was doing some land development. He just moved to Colorado. And I thought, well, I'm not doing anything else at the moment. So I got my real estate license and started helping him. And then, just did a lot of business over the next 10 years, doing mostly discount real estate. That allowed me to stay home with our children and work when I needed to, or work when I could. So, but we're empty nesters now. So this change is coming about at a beautiful time. So I'm all ready to do it.
Well, you had several goals kind of coming into the branding program, and let's talk about those for a minute. So you had quite a few, but I think here are the big ones, right? You wanted to do less listings, but at a full price commission versus going with higher volume of listings at a discount rate. I mean, right? Who doesn't want that, right? But the discount brokerage had made you a lot of money over the years. It just didn't fit the lifestyle that you wanted to go to at that point. You also told us you wanted your brand to make people feel good. I love that because I think that's the first time I've ever actually heard somebody say that. And you wanted to dial in who you were in the community. So tell us a little bit about why you wanted to accomplish, especially those last two, making people feel good with your brand and really dialing into your community.
I've been very busy in the community doing different philanthropic events throughout the years, and just being part of that, it's a wonderful feeling to be a part of a community that is so close. And, it's always made me feel really good. And I want other people to feel really good with who we're dealing with and know that I firmly believe that this business is not about me. It's about those people that I serve. Sellers who want to move around in the mountains, and then buyers that are just dying to get up to the mountains, which I've had a few of those. That makes me feel good to help them get to that point, because we've loved living in the mountains for 28 years now, and it's a hard place to leave.
Tell me about it. We have a little place in the mountains of Virginia, and it was very hard to leave there yesterday. Really hard. So I've lived on the beach throughout my life. I lived for 6 years on the beach, and then I've lived in the mountains for a large part of the rest of my life. And I'm a mountain girl, I've got to say.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah.
I would agree. We really like it. There's some symmetry actually between my history and your history. I actually was a real estate auctioneer and discount broker for years and did extremely good during the REO days. But also, just the same as you, I saw that there was this need to shift to something that was really more permanent and reach out to those ideal customers that I wanted to approach. And that's how I met Tonya. And then she sort of dialed that in, no different than what the program has done for you. So shifting your position from a discount broker to a more lifestyle driven meant redefining your ideal customer. So who's the best fit for you now?
The best fit for me now is folks who want to live in the mountains. I love working with buyers because they get so excited, just even driving up I-70 and seeing that beautiful landscape of snow-capped peaks. And, you just feel like you're home when you get there. So those people, we have a lot of luxury homes in this area, and having been in that market for a little while, I've seen some absolutely stunning places. And that is exciting to me because what people are able to put together, whether it's with their architect and builder or they had this vision of their own, I don't know, it's just exciting.
Yeah, I would bet, because there's so many, all real estate is different, right? But I would say that in your market, you have a lot of individuality to each of those homes. And even on resale, right? People are looking for a home to make it their own also. I would say those turnovers are like that. Wouldn't you think?
Absolutely. We have a lot of people that will buy a beautiful $3 million home and then gut the kitchen. They want to spend more money on this beautiful space that makes them feel just closer to nature, to, I don't know, heaven. It's just,
Yeah.
I'll say that. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's a great description of that. And so let's talk now about your brand identifier, which I really, really love. It's called Moving Mountains. You want to tell them a little bit about how we settled on that, Shannon?
Well, Tonya had quite a few different options for me one day, and some of them were really good. Some of them just didn't fit, and she saved the best for last. And that double meaning of moving mountains, it just fit. I mean, I almost started crying. It fit so well. So I'm very grateful to Tonya and her creativity to pull that out for me.
Yeah, I love it too. It's so awesome.
Yeah.
Because you were definitely the person, and of course, we're going to talk about this a little bit, some of your sound bites and things like that. But I hope the listeners can see what we know already about you. You really are that person that'll move mountains for their client. Yeah.
Yeah, I can know to do, polishing wood, whatever it takes to make that property perfect for showings, to sell, get the most you can out of it. And that's not been too hard over the last few years, but might get a little harder.
Yeah, we're working a little harder for them these days.
Right. Well, one of the things you're really, really known for is that attention to detail and that, nurturing hand-holding throughout that process. And of course, that area like the back of your hand. So when people come to you, a lot of those people I can imagine they don't already live there, especially if they're buyers, they're coming from out of state even. And it means a lot to them to have somebody that will help them move to the mountains and also move mountains to get them there, right? So that double entendre just fit you perfectly, Shannon. Really did.
Thank you. I love it.
You bet. So let's talk a little bit about your branding journey, okay? Because you came through our program to, work on that personal brand and really make that shift from discount broker to somebody who's known for helping move mountains in the luxury mountain home areas. So what was the toughest thing for you throughout the personal branding journey? We always like to ask this because we get a different answer from everybody.
Okay, well, let's see if you've heard this one before. The interview was probably the hardest one because there's a lot of memories there, and you guys really had some tough questions. So, it's not easy to talk about yourself in that way. And I think that was probably the most difficult part.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we've heard that for sure because you're not expecting that many questions. And also a lot of people tell us they have never really thought of those questions before. And so that really helps them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. What was the most eye-opening thing about your personal branding journey?
It was probably close to the end when everything started to come together because, there's all these pieces to the puzzle that but we don't know. And, to finally see it come together, it just really, really worked well.
Yeah, we've heard that before because it is something that although we try to articulate what that's going to look like as we go through this thing, it's very hard to conceptualize because you've never been there. And I get to relate with you all because I had never been there either. And Tonya taught me all of that same thing. And there were plenty of times I was like, and back then she did it all. So like the interview questions, the time spent on it was all me and Tonya. And there were times I'm like, man, how many more questions am I going to have to answer? I just wanted a logo. She taught me I needed a lot more than a logo. And I definitely contribute the success that we have seen all to branding principles that she taught me that we adhere to. And I know you're going to see a greater amount of success than you've already seen. We're successful at what you do, but I really see this brand taking off and moving some mountains for you.
Yeah.
everyone in the group was just so attentive and knew what they were doing and so flexible. If I needed one thing versus another, they were right on it and just did a great job. I mean, it was a really, really good experience.
Good. They better be.
Things, but there were some real stars in your organization. For sure.
Well, thank you.
Thank you. We agree. But it's nice to hear from the people that matter, which are our clients, right?
Yeah, we have the most amazing team. We're as in love with them as you are. So thank you for that kind thing. And I see your brand, shift is just kind of like a bend in the road, right? But it's like you said, people just want to come here because they feel like it's home. As soon as they hit, I-70, they feel like, oh, it feels like home. And I think your brand also has to feel like home to you. And that's really when we know we've all hit a home run together, is when it feels like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Do you find that having this dialed in too, it's easier to carry on conversations with the stranger in the store or the person in the restaurant? And do you find it easier to articulate what you do in a concise fashion?
My marketing consisted of mostly internet. So I didn't really, I don't know that I've ever had a real elevator pitch. So this has been so eye-opening in many ways, but I'm wearing my color and more, and, I'm trying to get all of my marketing materials together and writing those note cards that are so beautiful that, I want to paste them all over my wall because they're so pretty. But it's just a really good feeling to be bold and have everything that you need to, like that elevator pitch.
Mm-hmm.
It says a lot in one sentence, doesn't it?
It does.
Yeah. And for those of you wondering, Shannon's elevator pitch is, I move mountains for those seeking a first or second home in the Colorado Rockies. It's just that simple for her, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now the brand doesn't in there. Don't think if you've got an elevator pitch, you have a complete brand. Don't go there, right? As she said, there's a lot of steps that we know she didn't know, but, there's some blind trust that has to fall into place here. And I don't mind saying that. If you don't have any of that blind trust, you're probably not going to do well in this program. Because you do, as long as you guys know and can trust us that we're not just going to, hey, we just put this out there for you. Never mind, you haven't looked at it yet, right? We would never do that. This is really a partnership, a collaborative journey together to get what you want out of a brand, not what we think you should have, but what you want and deserve out of a brand. And I'm glad you said those things because they're questions and challenges that they're real. Right? They come into it thinking, what brand are they just going to give me? And it's like, no. We build the brand around who you are. It's who you are. And I just want to say one more time before we move to the last two questions, thank you again for your trust and confidence in us.
Well, you make it easy to have trust. You have so many testimonials on your website. It's harder to not move forward when you start watching those and the excitement. And they had to have some trust because I'm assuming that most of them didn't know you. My phone is ringing.
Yeah.
Your brand's already working.
Bravo.
Look at that.
I love it. That's a heck of a lot better than somebody's dog barking in the background, Sean. And this is awesome. The phone's ringing. You see, guys, how that works? It's so easy.
Yep, build a brand and the phone rings. That's the way it works.
I love it.
Okay, so, I want to ask you one other thing. What advice would you give people that might be thinking about building a brand for themselves, a personal brand? Would you have any words of advice for them?
Oh, yes. I was thinking about this earlier and how if I had started out with BrandFace, I might have been in a whole different realm at this point, 25 years later. So don't wait. Do it as soon as you can. The only way it's expensive is if you don't use it. And I'm planning on using it to its fullest extent and, getting that brand out there as much as I possibly can. So, yeah, I have every confidence in these folks and in what they did for me. And it was absolutely worth every penny I spent on it, all the time I spent on it. Am I one of your longest running clients? Because it's been, 7 or 8 months?
Yes. But that's okay. That does happen sometimes. It's probably about 15% of people that come in, it takes them a little while. That absolutely happens. And it happens for a myriad of reasons. You might go on vacation. You might be super busy. You're making this transition. You're working your way out of, one perception into another. A million reasons, Shannon, that people, take a little bit longer than others. On average, it happens in about 3 months and you're out the door and ready to go. But sometimes it absolutely takes longer than that. So don't sweat it. Don't feel bad. I'm just so glad we're here at this point where you're able to put it out there with confidence.
Yes.
For sure.
Me too. Me too.
Yep. Okay. So one question we ask every guest that we have on, of all the places you've visited in the world, what would be your personal favorite and why?
Gosh, Germany, I'd have to say.
Mhm.
And my husband and I went on a trip. He was working for doing a school in Paris. And so I tagged along, lucky there. And we took some time and went to Germany. And you have to hand it to the German people. Most of them speak English. It's required in school. So that made us feel more comfortable and welcome. And it's one of the cleanest places I think I've ever been. Compared to Paris, it was nothing against Parisians, but it just was beautiful.
That's awesome. That might be, has anybody said Germany yet?
No,
I don't think so.
that's a first for Germany.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's
Well,
a good one.
We just happened to get there when the German Fest, what is that called? Can't think of it.
Oktoberfest?
Thank you. Oktoberfest started, and we had no idea. And the guy at the front desk, he said, "Oh, are you here for Oktoberfest?" And we said, "Yeah."
Well, now. That's really cool. We have not made it there, but I have a couple of buddies that have done Oktoberfest several times.
Yeah.
And they love to go out there during that. So,
I would love that,
Mhm.
actually. It's going to be
Yeah.
on my bucket list now.
yeah. So tell everybody what the best way to contact you if they want to buy a house or sell a house, or what's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
My cell phone, I answer my phone probably 9 times out of 10 or even more. And that's 720-988-9914. And RockyMountainHomes.co is my website that you can go to and find me there.
That's awesome. Well, we encourage everybody to do so.
Absolutely. Yes. This lady's going to move mountains for you. She moves mountains everywhere she goes. Well, Shannon, we adore you and thank you again. It's been such a pleasure having you on the show.
I just can't say enough good things about you and your company. So thank you.
Brought to you by BrandFace, the only comprehensive personal brand building system across the globe.